For generations, the Welsh endured harsh laws, economic hardship, and exclusion from power under English rule. In 1399, when Henry IV took the throne from Richard II, those tensions deepened even further. A year later, Owain Glyndŵr, a Welsh landowner and soldier, rose to prominence following a land dispute with the English Lord Reginald Grey. Lord Reginald, a supporter of the new King Henry, had illegally seized some of Owain's land. What began as a personal conflict quickly developed into a national uprising as Welsh support for Glyndŵr spread across the country. Lord Reginald then falsely caused charges of treason to be brought against him. In response, Glyndŵr declared himself the true Prince of Wales and began a rebellion. Owain's men quickly spread through northeast Wales. Most of northern and central Wales went over to Owain's side, but the English loyal settlements were attacked. The first target was the town of Rhuthun and de Grey's stronghold of Conwy Castle. The gates to the village were stormed, the village sacked, and the castle was sieged. By the 23rd of September, Owain was moving south, attacking Powys Castle and sacking Welshpool. About the same time, the Tudur brothers from Anglesey launched a guerrilla war against the English. The Tudors of Mynydd were a prominent Anglesey family who were closely associated with King Richard II. Gwilym ap Tudur and Rhys ap Tudur were both military leaders of a contingent of soldiers raised in 1396 to protect North Wales against any invasion by the French. King Henry IV of England, on his way back from invading Scotland, turned his army of some 13,000 men towards Wales. In a rapid campaign, Henry led his army around North Wales. He was harassed constantly by bad weather and the attacks of Welsh guerrillas. When he arrived on Anglesey, he harried the island, burning villages and monasteries. Rhys ap Tudur led an ambush of the king's forces at a place called Rhos Fawr. Glyndŵr's men used their knowledge of the terrain to their advantage. Rather than confronting the English army in open battle, they waited until the force was stretched out and vulnerable. Welsh fighters then attacked suddenly from cover, striking quickly and causing confusion and panic among the English troops. The bulk of the army retreated to the safety of Beaumaris Castle, while those cut off were killed. On Good Friday in 1401, Conwy Castle, a large stone fortress built by Edward I beside the River Conwy, was lightly guarded because many of the English soldiers were attending church. All but 5 guards had left the castle to attend. The castle was one of the strongest in North Wales, with high walls, 8 towers, and a commanding position over the town and river. The 2 Welsh cousins, Rhys and Gwilym, approached the gate pretending to be carpenters sent to carry out repairs. The guards allowed them inside without suspicion. Once within the castle, the 2 Welsh brothers attacked the few guards that were on duty. Once they had cleared the guards, they opened the gate, and the Welsh soldiers that had accompanied them and were lying in wait stormed in, and the castle was taken. With the situation deteriorating for the English, King Henry appointed Henry Percy, widely known as Hotspur, as his principal lieutenant and justiciar in North Wales. Hotspur's uncle, the Earl of Worcester, held a similar appointment in the south. Their positions were simple: to bring the country to order. Henry Percy arrived at the newly captured Conwy Castle with 120 men-at-arms and 300 archers. He knew it would take a great deal more to get inside so formidable a fortress and was forced to negotiate. An agreement was reached, and the castle returned to the English, but losing this castle so easily would still have severe psychological impacts on the English. A few months after Conwy Castle was taken, English authorities organised more punitive expeditions into central Wales. An English force of around 1,200 men gathered. They were ordered to move eastwards through mid-Wales with the aims of hunting down Owain. At the same time, Owain and his followers were moving through the same region. As the English force moved inland, they entered the upland, boggy terrain around Mynydd Hyddgen. Seeing the English army stretched out and struggling in the hills, Owain decided to engage and charged at the English from the top of the hill. The English army struggled to respond, and confusion spread through their ranks. What began as an organized advance quickly turned into a disorderly retreat. The Welsh forces pressed their advantage, and the English troops were driven down the mountain. Many were killed during the retreat, while others fled in panic. Despite being outnumbered, Owain's army won a clear and decisive victory, killing around 200 English soldiers. The year came to end with the Battle of Tudur, an inconclusive battle fought during Owain's siege of Conwy Castle. The English saw that if the revolt continued to prosper, it would spread to even more regions. Early in the year, Owain captured his arch-enemy, Reynold or Reginald Grey, in an ambush at Ruthin. He held him for a year until he received a substantial ransom from King Henry. In the summer of 1402, the struggle for Wales reached a turning point on a quiet hillside near the village of Bryn, Glas. For 2 years now, Owain Glyndŵr had defied the English crown. Determined to crush the uprising, King Henry IV sent a strong force of some 3,000 men into central Wales under the command of Sir Edmund Mortimer, an experienced nobleman and trusted soldier of the crown. Mortimer's mission was clear: track down Owain, defeat him in open battle, and end the rebellion in one decisive blow. The much smaller Welsh army, numbering about 1,500, split its forces. One group took up position on the hilltop to draw Mortimer's men into battle, while the rest concealed themselves in a nearby valley beside the hill. Mortimer's army spotted the Welsh soldiers positioned at the top of the hill and, confident in their superior numbers, advanced on the Welsh line. As they climbed the slope, volleys of arrows from Owain's longbowmen rained down with deadly effect. While the two forces were engaged, the Welsh division hiding in the valley moved to cut off the English. When the two armies finally clashed on the hillside, Mortimer's men were suddenly attacked on their right flank and from the rear by Welsh troops who had been concealed in the valley. In the fierce fighting that followed, some Welsh archers serving in Mortimer's army even switched sides and joined Owain's forces. Then came the moment that sealed the battle's fate. Sir Edmund Mortimer was wounded and captured. With their commander taken, the English army collapsed. Some fled the field. Others were cut down where they stood. Against all expectations, Owain had not only survived the king's attack, he had destroyed it. An estimated 1,500 English soldiers had been killed, whereas only a few hundred Welshmen had been killed. The victory at Bryn Glas sent shockwaves across Britain. For the first time, the rebellion was no longer dismissed as local unrest. It was now a genuine threat to royal authority. When news reached London that Mortimer had been captured, many expected King Henry IV to pay his ransom. He did not. Mortimer was left in Welsh hands, a decision that would change the course of the war. Feeling abandoned by the crown he had served, Mortimer made a fateful choice. He joined Owain's cause and later married into his family, turning a former enemy into one of the rebellion's greatest allies. From that moment on, the conflict in Wales became more than a revolt. It became a struggle for independence, backed not only by Welsh fighters, but by powerful English nobles who now stood against their own king. In 1403, the revolt became truly national in Wales. As Owain marched down the Conwy Valley in South Wales, village after village rose to join him. Welsh labourers and craftsmen were abandoning their employers in England and returning to Wales in droves. English manors and castles in Wales fell or their inhabitants surrendered. Carmarthen, one of the main English power bases in southwest Wales, fell and was occupied by Owain. He pushed southeast, taking villages near Cardiff Castle and Newport Castle. When the year of 1403 came to a close, the rebellion was still going stronger than ever. In the following year, Owain strengthened his position by taking the powerful western castles of Harlech and Aberystwyth. Determined to assert his authority, Owain set up his court at Harlech and appointed Gruffydd Young as Chancellor. With leading figures flocking to his side, English power in Wales shrank to little more than a few isolated castles, walled towns, and fortified manor houses. Owain showed his new authority by helping negotiate the tripartite indenture with Edmund Mortimer and Henry Percy, Earl of Northumberland. The agreement set out how they would divide England and Wales if they succeeded in conquering them. Owain would rule Wales, the Mortimers would control southern and western England, and Thomas Percy, Earl of Worcester, would take the north. In 1406, Owain set out his national programme, declaring his vision of an independent Wales with its own parliament and a separate Welsh church. But the rebellion soon began to falter. Early that year, his forces suffered a major defeat at the Battle of Pool Melin, beaten by an English army led by Richard Grey, Baron of Codnor. According to Adam of Usk, King Henry later ordered 300 Welsh prisoners to be beheaded outside Usk Castle. More than 1,000 Welsh soldiers were killed that day. More damaging for the rebellion, English troops landed in Anglesey from Ireland. Over the next year, they steadily forced the Welsh back, and by the end of 1406, resistance on the Isle of Anglesey, a major stronghold for the rebellion, had collapsed. The English introduced a strategy of economic blockade, cutting off trade and the flow of weapons. By March, 1,000 men from across Flintshire stood before the county's Chief Justice and agreed to pay a collective fine for supporting Owain. The same pattern soon spread across Wales as one lordship after another surrendered. By midsummer, Aberystwyth Castle, Owain's stronghold, was under siege. During the assault, the English used cannons in one of the earliest recorded uses of artillery in Britain. That autumn, the castle fell. Edmund Mortimer was killed in the fighting, and Owain's wife Margaret, 2 of his daughters and 3 of his granddaughters were captured and imprisoned in the Tower of London, where they all died before 1415. Owain remained free, but he was now a hunted guerrilla leader, and the rebellion began to fade. In 1410, he prepared his followers for one final raid deep into Shropshire, with many of his most loyal commanders at his side. Whether it was a bold last stand or a desperate gamble, the raid ended in disaster. Most of the remaining leaders were captured, and with them, the rebellion came to an end. Though Owain was never captured, he vanished from public life, becoming a legend known to all Welshmen. The English crown moved quickly to restore control, dismantling the remaining centres of resistance across Wales. The consequences for Wales were severe. Harsh laws were introduced to prevent future uprisings. Welsh people were barred from holding public office, owning weapons, or living in fortified towns, and many Welsh leaders lost their lands and influence. Yet, despite military defeat, Owain's rebellion left a powerful legacy. For the first time in centuries, Wales had come close to independence. His vision of a self-governing Welsh state with its own parliament and church lived on in memory and tradition. Owain Glyndŵr became a symbol of national resistance, proof that Wales could challenge English rule.